Hello, bienvenidos. Welcome to SazoNOW Sports Season 3, Episode 17. It's your boy, Jean Carlos, coming to you live from Gotham Podcast Studios with my main guy.
Yeah, que lo que mi gente, it's your boy Don Juan in the building with my guy. What's up, young?
Chillin', bro. We got a special day today. Hopefully the first of many. We're here with Booth Media NYC, bringing y'all the visuals. So stay tuned for more of that fire content with this collab between Booth Media NYC and SazoNOW Media Group.
Appreciate you doing this, brother.
And y'all already know what we do here at SazoNOW Sports. We bring you nothing but that fire. None of that whack shit. And we got a lot to cover today. NFL coaching reel, the NFL playoffs, MLB finally handed down the punishment of all of the evil empires, a.k.a. the Yankees' enemies. And we got a lot more to cover. But let's get right into it, man. Probably the highlight of the weekend we was watching it at your crib was the college football national championship game, man. It was a doozy. LSU beat Clemson 42-25, man. How'd you feel about that game?
Boy, that was an exciting game. I mean, we saw pretty much the future of what the NFL is going to hold, was going to come to fruition in a few years, whether it's next year with Joe Burrows or in a couple years with Lawrence. And that was a great game. I mean, from when it started, you thought that it was like Clemson got this. It was real unpredictable until the end, where it seemed like LSU had the game in the bag. But in terms of talent, this is literally the two best college teams out there right now with the best talent in the game. Yeah. And I was impressed, honestly. I didn't expect this game to be this crazy.
Yeah, man. It was a Goliath matchup. These two teams were both undefeated. Trevor Lawrence had never lost in his entire career, and this was his first L in his college career. And he took it from one of the swaggiest quarterbacks I have ever seen coming out of college football. Maybe since Cam Newton. Like, I can't remember a quarterback dripping this much swag. And Joe Burrow don't just got the swag, he got the game to back it up. In the national championship, he went 31 for 49, 463 yards and 5 touchdowns with a rushing touchdown on the side. And he legitimately finished with the best single season for a college quarterback. You want to know what he did? 60 touchdowns and only 6 interceptions over an entire season. I mean, he might have to be coordinated as Joey Dimes, bro, because all I see him doing the whole game was dropping dime after dime after dime after dime, man. It propelled this team to smoke some cigars after the game, man. Yeah, I feel like that was
the LSU way.
That was one of the highlights of the game, was the post-game celebration, I'd have to say.
I mean, that, and also Odell handing out wads of cash and money. What was going on there? I mean, it was a little sus, to say the least.
Yeah, it really
but
was.
I mean, it's Odell having fun. You know, he's an alumni there. Had his time in LSU, and is where his career started. So he was probably in the moment. You know, probably having fun. According to LSU athletic officials, apparently the money was fake, which I don't know.
Apparently,
right?
That wasn't fake, bro. My son Odell
that looked like some blue hundreds, right?
Facts. Odell does not walk around with fake cash, but hey, that's a good cover up.
All right, but I mean, it was a great game though, and don't get me wrong. I feel like LSU just had it coming. Talking about this, the game is in New Orleans for crying out loud. Yeah, you have to win at that point, at that big stage. But it was a great game, and I'm excited to see what Burrows could do. I mean, I feel like the Giants, because I just saw, oh my God, this is a guy that could take the Giants to a whole nother level. Yeah. Sorry, Danny Dimes or Danny Picks, what should we call it? Because we might have to give up that name.
Fumbling, tumbling.
Because my boy Joe Burrows is taking that name and running with it.
He really is running with it.
But I'll be nice. I mean, the Giants could move up and put the balls on the table and.
Hey yo.
Enough of that.
Nah, but I mean, shit, I was really impressed by Joe Burrow's game, and I'd love to have him on my team as New York Giants. But he is an Ohio kid. Cincinnati Bengals have the first pick, so it's looking like they will take him. I mean, they are desperate to get a quarterback, and I just really hope that they don't ruin his career. I mean, we saw the talent this kid has, and his story is amazing, where he went to Ohio State and he wasn't getting any playing time because Dwayne Haskins came into the fold, so he transferred to LSU, and now look at what happened. He got the national championship.
National championship plus Heisman, undefeated season. Oh, boy.
Best college quarterback season ever. What do you think, man? You think he could overcome the Cincinnati Bengals and their cursed franchise?
Well, yeah, I mean, they have a better story than the Browns, honestly, at this point, in terms of from what we lived. The Browns didn't necessarily win from in my childhood or growing up,
Facts.
but the Bengals have. I've seen the Bengals in the playoffs, so I don't think they'll really tarnish him, man. They have a pretty set offense in terms of weapons from A.J. Green and Tyler Boyd, John Ross. They got a lot of young receivers. I mean, A.J.
Fact.
Green is pretty old, but besides that, all the talent. The
Joe
receiving
Mixon,
corps
too,
is
can't
pretty
forget
good. So
about him.
I'm excited to see him there if that's gonna be the pick. But we'll see. I mean, apparently the Panthers are willing to trade up. You know, Rule he got paid. He has to make some big moves this offseason. So we'll see.
I think they just got their quarterback coach of LSU.
Oh, I did
he just
see
went
that.
to the
I did see
Panthers
that.
as well.
I did see that. So that itself could be a sign. Like, these guys are gonna go all in. I mean, he has to make a big move if you're gonna get paid that much. Your first year, you're coaching, and you're essentially the GM. You gotta make some big moves to show your imprint on the org.
Yeah, man, for real, man. It's gonna be a very interesting start to the NFL season next year when the draft comes. So yeah, let's pick up with the NFL playoffs. We got the Titans. They just beat the Ravens 28-12. What an upset. I mean, not many people saw this coming. Lamar Jackson and the Ravens were going absolutely dumb the entire year. Bona fide MVP. But as we've seen, MVPs, they don't win championships or have much success in the playoffs. And it came into fruition this past weekend as well.
Yeah, shout out to us because we both picked the Ravens. I mean,
who wouldn't?
Yeah. Unfortunately, and I mean, it's the second week that we got that wrong. I mean, actually, you picked the Titans last week, but I picked the Pats.
I did pick the Titans.
And boy, I didn't expect this. And to say that the Titans had this one like written up perfectly during the season, you would lie. There's no way you saw the Titans making it this far, and just making an imprint how they did. The Ravens, they got demolished, and we've never seen the Ravens come to this point and playing like they did this weekend. And from not being able to set up offensively, they were behind the whole game. They just look shaky, and I blame it on the lack of playing. They haven't played in a while.
Yeah.
And actually, like real games, week 16, they were already clinched, so they didn't really play nobody. Now you playing some competition with some players that got some chip on their shoulders, from Derrick Henry, who was always overlooked, Ryan Tannehill, who played with the Dolphins and pretty much remade his career with the Titans. So it's definitely nice to see the Titans blow up, but it's definitely unexpected.
Yeah, it's unexpected. I would not put any of the blame on Lamar Jackson. However, he had a great game, and I mean, other than that fumble that he gave up on the strip sack, that was probably his only mistake. But the interception off Mark Andrews' hands, that's the catch Mark Andrews has to make. Yeah, it's not the perfect dime.
He was making it all season.
You got to make that catch. And there was a total of 6 key drops for the Ravens in this game. So it's pretty hard for your team to win when the guys who got to catch the ball and run with it aren't catching the ball and running with it. But the Titans, they ran the hell out of that ball. Derrick Henry, I mean, he's looking like King Henry.
That's a fact.
He had 30 carries for 195 yards. And get this stat, man. Henry is the only NFL player in history with at least 1,250 rushing yards and 10 touchdowns in any 8-game stretch. Over his past 8 games, Derrick Henry has 1,273 rushing yards and 11 touchdowns. I mean, what a beast. I called it in the beginning of the year in the fantasy podcast. I said Derrick Henry, sleeper pick in all fantasy. He's going to dominate this year just because of what I saw of his trend towards the end of last year. The Titans really giving the keys to the offense to him, and they already had an offensive line built, set up for success, and Derrick Henry rode that success to back-to-back upset wins, one against the Patriots and another one against one of the favorites to win the Super Bowl, Baltimore Ravens.
And shout out to Ryan Tannehill, though. He pretty much rewrote his whole career from last year playing with the Dolphins. I didn't expect him to be in this situation now with the Titans making a name for himself. So shout out to him. He really made it. He really rewrote his own history essentially in the NFL.
Yeah, man. The Dolphins got to be kicking themselves, man. They pretty much gave him away to get Josh Rosen, who they ruined. And now they got Ryan Fitzpatrick, who is Ryan Fitzpatrick. Good, but not great. Let's get into the next game, though. The Chiefs, they came back and beat the Texans. Final score was 51-31. But if I told you that the Texans were up 24-0 in the first quarter, would you have believed that they won? I mean, Sammy Watkins, a Kansas City Chiefs wide receiver, didn't believe they were going to win. He was walking around on the sideline with horrible body language, and he came out publicly and admitted to it. And he thanks Travis Kelce for bringing his spirits back up and saying, yo, your body language is all wrong. You really got to fix that. We're still in this game. And you know how they responded? They dropped 28 points in the second quarter and ended up winning 51-31. They scored so many touchdowns that the Kansas City Chiefs Arrowhead Stadium ran out of celebratory fireworks. I mean, this was unparalleled. You can't really match this form of offensive explosion. And Pat Mahomes, I mean, what can you say about him?
Yeah, he was great. I mean, from Pat Mahomes to Travis Kelce. Shout out to Travis Kelce. That's a veteran move right there to pick your team up when you're down. I mean, especially so fast in the game. First quarter, you're down. You over here thinking like, damn, we were thinking ahead of ourselves. It's a team that's stacked. That probably the favorites to win the Super Bowl, leading up to it right now, and they showed that they're the team that's ready to win. The Texans, as expected, we had them losing last week. We both picked the Chiefs, but I didn't expect it to go this manner. And the Chiefs, the first time the team has been down 20 and ends up winning the game by 20, which is remarkable.
That's crazy.
The last time I even saw somebody come back like this from a 20-point lead was in the Super Bowl with the Patriots and the Eagles.
And the Falcons,
No, Patriots and Falcons.
Yeah,
same 30 birds. But shout out to Kelce. He had a great game. 10 receptions, 134 yards, 3 touchdowns.
Damn, bro.
3 touchdowns.
That boy moves,
That's
man.
my favorite tight end right there.
Hey, man, like, real quick on a side note, we're seeing a trend now. These tight ends, to me, are more important than wide receivers. They can offer great blocking for the running game, and they're just, if they're elite, they offer matchup nightmares for anybody who's facing them. I mean, you can't guard Travis Kelce. He's, 6'5", 240, and moves like a wide receiver. Like, these are players that you don't have a defender to match up with.
Yeah.
And we saw with the Ravens and got them very far. Mark Andrews. We saw when the Patriots went back so many championships, Rob Gronkowski. Tight ends are really putting themselves forward as the go-to playmakers and necessary components to a successful team, I believe, in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen it with Kittle right now. George Kittle with the 49ers.
Yeah. He
He was doing great. And I mean, and then the teams that failed, you said Mark Andrews. Mark Andrews didn't really set his input in the game. He was dropping balls left and right, but the guys that made it to the next rounds are the guys that are actually catching and making plays. So the tight ends, man, and we actually spoke about it in the fantasy special as well, where we were saying that the tight ends are gonna be real crucial, especially this year.
Yeah, shout out Justin Polizzi.
So Justin Polizzi, man, you called it from the jump, and essentially we're seeing this becoming a norm now in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm. Real talk, man. Speaking of George Kittle, the Niners beat the Vikings 27-10. Niners were pretty much in control. I mean, the Niners are a team that's just talented on all levels of the field, from the offense to the defense, even special teams. I mean, they're just playmakers all over. They had so many rushing yards from their 3 running backs, Tevin Coleman, Raheem Mostert. I believe it was around the area of 180 yards plus.
Wow.
And, 180 plus yards, and they swamped one of the top running backs of the entire year, Dalvin Cook.
Yeah, they had him on smash. Dalvin Cook couldn't buy a yard, honestly. He had 18 yards and 9 carries. There's a guy that, like you said, not number one running back, that was Derrick Henry, but one of the top running backs, and essentially a team that is a running team. They were built just to run, and Niners addressed that right away. We ain't gonna let this guy run. If we stop him off the rip, there's no way they're going to be able to establish their offense. And that's exactly what happened. I mean, they had 6 sacks for crying out loud.
Yeah.
Helped Minnesota's offense to 81 yards until the fourth quarter, which is, I wouldn't say unheard of, but I haven't seen them this season play this bad and not have a control of the game to this point.
Yeah, man, I feel you on that. And it's kind of like Dalvin Cook's weakness turned its ugly head around, and for him, it's not talent, it's not consistency, it's availability and durability. And he was a bit hampered coming into this game, and he was becoming a bit more and more injured. The nagging injuries just caught up to him as the season came to an end, and it caught up to him in this game. I mean, he did not look the same at all, nowhere near as explosive. He got the ball in his hand and couldn't really make much movements with it. But I really think that's what it is with Dalvin Cook. He's really got to find a way to get his health under control so that he can be the running back that will catapult a team to playoff success. Because, I mean, you can't really, if your offense is based on running and you can't run, you can't really put that on Kirk Cousins in the passing offense.
Yeah. But, I mean, is also credit just the Niners defense. They just there was no getting around it, and that's essentially what it was.
Richard Sherman, he showed that why he bet on himself. I mean, he was coming off that ruptured Achilles injury and had an incentive-laced contract that he negotiated himself. Because he bet on himself, and he got all those incentives, and he had an extremely clutch interception where he read a play and jumped a route, and it proved to be the key defensive play of the game for the Niners. And we'll see how they fare next week. Let's talk about the last game of the weekend.
The guys who the Niners are actually going to face.
Yep.
The Packers. The Packers beat the Seahawks 28-23. I, of course, did not pick the Packers advancing. Shout out to me for picking that one. Yeah. But, yeah, I mean, it was a great game. We saw the flashes of Aaron Rodgers, the bad man he is, and also Davante Adams. I mean, Davante Adams is a guy that I think it was a couple weeks ago where I didn't see nothing. I didn't really see him break out for any big plays. And this week, it was like a whole new man.
Yeah.
And if that's going to be the team that is going to play against the 49ers, I'm giving them a bit of a slight chance.
Yeah,
at least a knocker's punch, you know?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Davante Adams was dealing with a turf toe injury throughout the entire year. And, I mean, I could only imagine what a difficult injury that must be for a wide receiver of his caliber. You definitely need your big toe to be able to plant in the ground and make some key route movements. But, I mean, we saw a beautiful route that he did where they faked the crossing route and he went to the fade, and the dude his ankles just broken, and it was one of the easiest throws for Aaron Rodgers because Davante Adams just broke his dude. I mean, if Davante Adams could continue to play like this, it's going to be extremely difficult to stop him and Aaron Rodgers, because we've seen Aaron Rodgers can make any throw on the field. Yeah, you might say he's not who he once was, but to me, I still see the talent there. All I see is some more variation in the game planning for the Packers. It's not all we have to win with Aaron Rodgers. It's let's split the game up. Let's get our running game involved. Let's get special teams involved and everything. And they're showing that it's working for them. And now they have a chance in the championship game, the conference final next week, against the Niners. So
essentially, this is probably the best team that Aaron Rodgers has honestly had in terms of balance. Before he had Gordy Nelson, and he also had Randall Cobb and stuff and guys like that, which are good. But now that you have a running game, a guy like Aaron Jones who was on a tear. I mean, last year he did good, but it was like they were holding him back. Now with a whole new coach, it seems like that's all they needed to really open the offense, to let it flourish, and not really depend on Aaron Rodgers to bail these guys out. So we'll see. I mean, the defense is good as well. I mean, against the Seahawks, who were a top team this year, and if not for a loss at the end of the season, the Seahawks are probably number 1 or 2, and have home field advantage. And the fact that the Packers had home field, that came into play as well. I felt like cold as fuck.
For sure, man. Both of those teams have very, very impactful home field advantages. So it was a big advantage for the Packers. But what do you think about the NFC Conference Finals? Who you got there, man? Niners or Packers?
I got the Niners. I think that they will be able to put a hold on that Packers offense. The Packers offense, they've been good, but the Niners defense is just real. You got Nick Bosa, who's been on a tear all season, and I feel like the Niners defense have been the healthiest they've been all season. They just got some players last week. That's why you saw the dominance that they held at the first half of the season. We really didn't see that towards the second half of the season, but it's because they were dealing with a lot of injuries. Now those guys come back. They holding it down, and they're going to hold down that Packers offense to less than 100 yards, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, man. I got the Packers actually, man, because Aaron Rodgers, I mean, we all know the home field advantage of Lambeau Field, but they're playing in San Francisco, and I can't remember the last time I seen Aaron Rodgers really playing in good weather over the playoffs. So I think that's going to play a big factor in just opening up the field for him. And I mean, again, Aaron Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers. He can make any throw on the field.
He's a bad man.
He doesn't have to battle the field conditions which he's had to throughout his career. Even though it would have been less of an issue since they do have somewhat of a running game. But I feel like now with such a balanced team, Devontae Adams playing at this elite level, Aaron Jones and Jamal Williams complementing in the backfield, I think they have enough weapons to break through the Niners and go on to the Super Bowl. Ooh. And who might they be facing in that Super Bowl? I ask you, Juan. Chiefs versus Titans for the AFC.
I mean, some people might come at me and be like, nah, Juan, you bugging out. But I got the Titans. I got to believe in this Cinderella story. I've counted them out twice. I'm not going to count them out again. And the reason being is that the Titans have a great secret weapon. And maybe now we all know who he is, but Derrick Henry. I mean, I haven't seen nobody I haven't seen nobody with an answer to that beast. And the way to control a team like the Chiefs and their high-powered offense is run the ball, kill the clock, make sure Pat Mahomes doesn't have that ball in his hands. And that's essentially what the Titans have. They have the perfect answer to stop Pat Mahomes, and that's keeping the ball away from him. And with a guy like Derrick Henry, who's just gonna stampede over the Kansas City defense, who don't really have a really good running defense. So I could see the Titans really just hammering it down, and probably a low-scoring game. And hopefully for the Titans, it has to be a low-scoring game for them to win the game. But I have the Titans.
I feel you. I mean, Kansas City is ranked 26th in rush defense. But I got to go with the Chiefs, man. I mean, we saw what Pat Mahomes can do, score 28 points in a quarter. And his ability to literally make any throw on the field. Like, Aaron Rodgers can make any throw on the field, but Pat Mahomes can make throws on the field that we didn't even know was possible. Like, little flip throws, like if it's basketball or baseball or some shit. I mean, we know his father used to be a professional baseball player. He used to play baseball, so he's got an athletic background that gives him such diverse skill bases, and he showcases them in all of his games, whether it's a no-look pass, whether it's a 70-yard bomb down the field on the run. I mean, this guy can do it all. And the fact that Tennessee has a 25th ranked pass defense also worries me. I do feel like this is an opportunity for the Chiefs to exploit that defense for the Titans, and their Cinderella story will come to an end. So I'm expecting it to be a Packers versus Chiefs Super Bowl in Miami, wherever. I don't really know where it's going to be. Next year's going to be Miami. I heard Tom Brady talking about that. But I think it's going to be Packers, Chiefs.
And I got Titans Niners, so we'll see.
We'll see who's right, man.
All right.
Get into some basketball, man. NBA action, a lot to talk about. Let's start it off with the most hyped prospect in the history of the NBA since LeBron James, Zion Williamson. He's finally set to make his debut January 22nd. He took enough of a nap the other night on the bench against the Pistons that he's fully rested to make a full return against the Spurs. But when I say full, I mean extremely limited. His minutes restriction is going to be crazy. I mean, the caution and methodic approach that the Pelicans are taking with Zion Williamson is something probably that you could only compare with Joel Embiid. But they are saying, don't expect this dude to play a lot of minutes. Don't expect him to play back-to-backs. They're literally saying just expect the minimum. I'm expecting this dude to play a quarter. That's all I'm expecting at this point.
Nah, that's good enough. Honestly, this is a team that they don't want to win today. They want to win tomorrow in terms of metaphors. Not essentially that they don't want to win the game, but they want to make sure that Zion is that prized possession. I mean, he is a prized possession. They wasted a number one pick. Well, not waste, but I'm tired of degrading my man Zion.
Wasted.
Yeah, but they essentially.
That's a Knicks fan vernacular right there.
No, but I mean, if anything, they saved the Knicks. But I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. Let's just keep going with Zion. And Zion is finally, it's been long awaited, especially for my fantasy team. But enough about me. But Zion, I mean, we've been waiting for him. Even, bro, I went to the Knicks game, and that was a nationally televised game. And the fact that the Knicks still have nationally televised game is beyond me. But the fact that
Knicks for clicks.
That Zion, they built this. The game was nationally televised because of Zion.
Mm-hmm.
There was no way to take those games back. And the fact that he's out is like,
me,
but
man.
you know, I'm hyped for him to come back. Just essentially for him, it was already a hype from last season, and even in high school. I mean, high school, Duke. This guy's been the biggest hype since LeBron James, and we're finally gonna get him, which I thought he wasn't even gonna play this season.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to him to play very much, and he's coming back at a great time. The Pelicans are playing great. Brandon Ingram has looked amazing all season, which you called, by the way. And Lonzo Ball is looking like a number 2 overall pick finally.
That's a fact.
He's being impactful on all levels of the game. I'm talking about offense. His jump shot looks so much better. His ball control, his assisting has always been elite. His defense, I mean, perimeter and even interior. I've seen a couple of LeBron-esque chase down blocks from him recently. This dude's looking like that number 2 overall pick. Maybe he just needed to get away from La Town. We haven't heard LeVar Ball in a minute.
Yeah,
I don't know where the hell he at. But just stay shut, man, because your son is balling, and it's going to be interesting to see for him to come back. But another young player who's been going crazy, SGA, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
That dude is balling.
20 points, 20 rebounds, 10 assists, triple-double. What? From a shooting guard? Are you serious? I mean, Sam Presti, what a move, man. You get rid of Russell Westbrook and Paul George, and your team honestly became better in the sense of the long run. I mean, you got that 3-guard combo with Chris Paul, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and Dennis Schroeder is nearly unstoppable. I mean, just in the type of offense that they provide, they all have different skill sets. It's crazy. Chris Paul is somewhat of a facilitator, point guard. Shai Gilgeous still up and coming, but I don't know a weakness of his game. I was trying to think like what he's not good at. I don't know what the hell he's not good at. He's good at everything. He could play defense and he could play on all levels on the offense. And then Dennis Schroeder stretches the floor and can do some playmaking as well. And you got the Aquaman in the middle holding it down. So you got to really give a lot of credit to Sam Presti for pulling off those deals and got to the Thunder playing playoff basketball.
Yeah, I didn't expect the Thunder to be this good. And the fact that that Chris Paul and a guy like Shai are complementing each other was also something that I didn't think would be an easy mesh or a way to, even just the whole team, Gallo, pieces that they just brought together. That it was essentially just, well, you know what, the reason why the Pelicans won the Thunder won this trade is because they got all these picks. But now that we see how everything is coming to fruition, where Shai is balling. Chris Paul is pretty much remaking his whole career. We were saying he's washed and whatnot, but
we really were.
He's balling.
And it's not that he's washed. It's that Mike D'Antoni sucks. I mean, I've been saying this for my whole life. He's not a coach. He's a guy who just gives the best player on the team keys to the kingdom. Yo, do what you want. You have all the freedom. Doesn't care about defense. And he made Chris Paul an ISO player. Yeah. Chris Paul is not an ISO player. You see the Thunder playing now. They run beautifully ran offenses, a lot of plays, back screens, and you see Chris Paul directing stuff. But when Chris Paul was on the Rockets, they were making it look like Chris Paul is a bad leader. He was rubbing James Harden the wrong way. He was trying to play actual basketball. But Mike D'Antoni doesn't do that. He doesn't do that. So I love the fact that Chris Paul is doing this. And I'm so happy that they whooped the Rockets' ass when they went back to to Oklahoma City. And,
Yeah, that was a
Russell
good,
Westbrook's
good little
return.
comeback. Good little comeback right there. Right?
Real talk. Another little good comeback is Kyrie Irving of the Nets. He came back after his extended break from the shoulder, not break, but just out of injury from his shoulder impingement. And he's been back for 2 games and has been balling. First game back, 20 minutes. He went 10 for 11, 21 points, 2 assists. Following game against the hottest team in the NBA, Utah Jazz, he went 12 for 19 from the field, 3 for 5 from 3, 60% from the three-point in total, 11 assists and 32 points with 2 steals on the side. They took the L, but Kyrie Irving is looking back like he hasn't missed a step, man.
Yeah, it's good to see him fully healthy. Well, is he fully healthy, or he's just putting the shoulder behind him?
He says that his shoulder feels good, and he said that if he was thinking about his shoulder, he would not be out on the court. So I take him for his word, and to me, it sounds like his shoulder's feeling fine.
Well, that's good to hear. I mean, the team is finally coming together from LeVert to Kyrie, and these are the usual suspects that you want to see when you're really competing against the powerhouses. The Nets had a little bad run where they were missing these key pieces from Kyrie and LeVert, because you're essentially just digging deep in the bench with players that aren't really starters. They're supposed to be playing their role, and you're pulling these guys to play a bigger role. It's too much to ask for. Shit, that's Garrett Temple to you.
Facts, man. Garrett Temple, I mean, this is a great vet, a decent bench player, but not a starter, and he was getting consistent starter minutes. And, I mean, he's been out the past couple of games with a right knee contusion, which leads me to believe he hasn't really been able to withstand that extended playing time. But on some other Nets news, Atkinson says KD is progressing remarkably. He's not really sure how much he can share regarding the status of his injury. So that leads me to believe he's ahead of schedule. All medical reports said that he should be ready within 6 to 8 months. However, Nets brass, front office, and all of the players are not putting any pressure on him to return this season. But it's looking, like I said, reports that he could come back by March. There was also a report, I mean, for those of you who don't know, he has his own media publication company, The Boardroom, and they're having an SXSW Summit presentation. You'd expect the CEO of the company to be there, especially if he's injured and doesn't have to play. But it's in March, and he's expected to not be there. So, I don't know, maybe I'm reading too much into it, but maybe he's not going to be there because he's going to be on the court.
He's definitely reading a lot into it. I mean, who doesn't? As a Net fan, of course you want to see your boy KD back. But if he comes back, that'll be a miracle. This guy got hurt in June. To be back in less than a year, I don't know, bro. It's asking for a little bit too much.
I'm not asking for it. I'm just stating the facts. I'm just stating the facts.
Yeah, I mean, I wish I could be on your side, but
let's talk about the Knicks.
But let's go to my side. Let's go to my side.
They've been doing better.
They have
RJ
been.
Barrett's improving from the free throw line.
They have.
He's doing a lot better.
These are facts. These are facts, and these are great facts. If you're a Knicks fan, you're glad to see that be the last problem in your list. I know to start the season we saw RJ playing lots of minutes and probably figured that might be the problem, and I think it was. I think Fizdale forcing all these minutes was just causing fatigue for the young guy who essentially was playing the college game not too long ago. To expect a guy to just be playing 40 minutes on a daily, and in Duke they were playing 1 or 2 games a week. And now in the NBA, you're playing 3 to 4, and you're asking for too much for the rook.
Yeah.
But it's been a great transition to the Mike Miller era, and we haven't been winning games, in beautiful fashion, but we're winning some games. I mean, they lost to the Pelicans on Friday, but then beat the Heat. So it's still, you're winning some games that you don't expect to win, and that's all I can ask for a young team like the Knicks. But I mean, there's some bright moments with the Knicks. I mean, right now they was just essentially in a situation where they had to sign this young kid Kenny Wooten, who was a big hype. I really didn't hear much about him until I was on social media, and boy, this guy's a freak. In the last 4 games in his Westchester Knicks career, he's been averaging 15 points, 15.5 points, 8 rebounds, and 3.5 blocks. And that's all while shooting 75% from the floor. And if you put that in 36-minute rate, this guy's averaging 5.2 blocks. And if you pair him up with a guy like Mitchell Robinson, that'll be some nice
That's G
defensive prowess.
That's G League. Let's slow our horses
No, of
down.
course, but just to see the athleticism, the flashes, I'm not hyped. I mean, I'm hyped in terms of that we got some talent. He was undrafted. It wasn't like the Knicks spent the bag or a valuable pick. It's just some guy that slipped through the cracks, and that's what you want as an organization, to be scouting and picking out diamonds in the rough. And if this guy pans out, he's a young guy who isn't in a developmental process. And Knicks made some room. Apparently, he was gaining some attraction in the market out there, and the Knicks made a gamble and said, "Fuck, let's give this guy a two-way deal."
Yeah.
I mean, it's not gonna hurt us.
Yeah, it's nothing to lose.
But it's also great to see. We'll see. I mean, the got the eyes. As a Knicks fan, I got my eyes set on the trade deadline. See what's gonna happen.
Yeah, man.
Maybe we could get a bag of chips.
Andre Drummond's been big.
Oh, come on. Yeah, that's
rumor.
the latest rumor. I don't want to hear it. But honestly, it's a joke. It has to be a joke. I mean, it's coming from a creditable source in Sham, but it might be all a sham, if you get what I'm saying. And because honestly, what the hell are the Knicks even entertaining if they are? Why are they entertaining? Drummond, he's great at what he does, which is grab boards. But we already got Mitch Robb. He's the project, and I don't think that we should go away from it. Because then, what sucks is that this seems like a Knick move. This is this is a Knick move.
We're not gonna go after any superstars in the off season, but during the season, we're gonna trade our assets for a star that's not gonna take you to the playoffs or anything.
Yeah, but we'll see. I mean, trade deadline coming soon, and I just think this is just one of those stir the pots. Let's build Drummond stock up. Atlanta was rumored to be interested in him. So it's probably just entertaining, seeing what the market is, what his stock is looking like, essentially, because the Knicks have a lot of picks and some young talent that they could probably trade to Detroit to get a guy like Drummond. But if you're asking me, I hope that's not true.
Real talk, man. Something that I hope is not true is Giannis going to the Golden State Warriors. I don't know if you guys saw the other day, but Curry was trying to recruit Giannis Antetokounmpo. At least that's what it seemed like. If you could read his lips, he was like, "Come on, let's do it. It'll be fun." Apparently, he says that he was recruiting him to play PUBG with him.
Yeah,
that's what his cover-up was.
Yeah.
I mean, if that's not the worst cover-up I've heard, I don't know what is. But I mean, Giannis is up for a new contract this upcoming season. If he stays in Milwaukee, he could get the richest contract in NBA history. But if he goes to the Warriors, he could create one of the biggest threes or the biggest teams in general in the history of the NBA. I mean, what they had with Kevin Durant was already unstoppable. I wouldn't say it's better or worse. It's going to be a little different because Giannis has a different skill set. But the fact is, Giannis is young as hell. He's only going to get better. He's shown to improve his game any way it needs to improve, unlike Ben Simmons, which we'll get into in a bit. And he's adding a three-point shot. I mean, him with the Warriors, Curry, Clay, Draymond,
It's gonna be a problem.
That would be ridiculous. If he were to go, would you say it's better, worse, or not even comparable to the KD situation?
I wouldn't compare it, being that there's no connection. There's no ties between the Warriors and the Bucks. And the reason why I'm bringing it up is because of KD essentially lost to the Warriors. They were down. They were up. KD and the Thunder were up 3-1 to the Warriors in that year that they won 73 games. And you joined them the next offseason during free agency. So it shows signs that you can't beat them.
Yeah.
And if Giannis goes to the Warriors, it's not really because he can't beat them. It's more because they need him, which is a story nowadays that, the Warriors wouldn't have won without KD.
Yeah.
And I agree, but maybe they would have. They would have kept it competitive. If it wasn't KD, they probably would have signed somebody else.
Yeah.
Essentially, and he replaced Harrison Barnes, and that was a complete upgrade. But you get Giannis in there with players like Curry, Thompson, Draymond. I mean, Draymond, he's still serviceable. He could shoot his threes here and there.
Mm-hmm.
He plays the game, and then
he's a lockdown beast.
And Giannis, who's a lockdown beast as well, been experimenting shooting threes and hitting them now, that'll be scary. I
wild.
wouldn't want to face the Warriors.
I mean, yeah, I feel like it's not comparable. The only way it would be comparable is if the Warriors were still good and the Bucks lost to them in the finals. But we know that's not going to happen this year. So, I mean, it's kind of like set up for him to do this and for his legacy to not be tarnished. So, the team that's doing their thing right now is the Lakers, man. I mean, of course, they were one of the preseason favorites to win the whole thing, but what they've been showing to do without their top talent just goes to solidify how much depth this team has. And AD hurt his butt against the Knicks not too long ago. And there was a game where AD, LeBron, or Danny Green didn't play, and I think they obliterated the other team with like 30-plus points.
Yeah, they played OKC, and this is OKC who, fresh off of destroying the Rockets, you would have thought, oh, the Lakers coming up to town? We're gonna cook them. We're gonna cook them easily. You talking about a team without LeBron. Well, the key pieces, which is LeBron, AD, and I think that OKC just went in there, overlooked that situation. They probably thought like, oh, we got this. We didn't even gotta go too hard. And boy, they were wrong. They were, and this is a Lakers team that you getting people that are stepping up that you didn't really think it would be this. They would be playing this role, and that's really Dwight Howard, who honestly I've been impressed all season. I remember we spoke about it briefly during the offseason about should the Lakers target a guy like Dwight Howard. I said, hell no. We did that once. There's no reason to entertain that again. And
La última y primera vez.
And he's proved me wrong completely. I mean, he's looked like he's re-energized, and it seems like he noticed that the best thing I could really do and been doing my whole career is playing defense, grabbing my 10 to 12 boards a game, and make your 10 buckets if you can, but you don't have to. And now he does it because AD is out, but just play your role and play your role to the maximum level. That's how he made his Hall of Fame career, and I think that's what held him back when he thought that he was more than what he was, and that was in the situation with the Lakers, that was the situation with the Rockets, and pretty much his whole career after that point.
After the Magic, really. Yeah, he really got humbled, and he said it. He's come out publicly and said himself that he feels like he's playing the best basketball he's ever played, perhaps not stat-wise, but just in the fact of, like you said, knowing your role, fulfilling that role, and putting the team's success over his own personal success. Oh, man, he's even hit a couple threes this year. He got 3 threes this year.
That's more threes than your boy Ben Simmons out in Philly.
Bruh, Ben Simmons. I mean, let's get into Ben Simmons real quick. I mean,
I know it's a favorite topic.
Has 2 3-pointers in his entire career. Dwight Howard has 3 this year. Dwight Howard doesn't have an ultimate green light. Ben Simmons does. This is just so mind-blowing to me, and the Sixers have been in a bit of a rough stretch recently, and it's not going to get any easier with Joel Embiid out, who recently had surgery on his, I believe it was his ring finger.
It was
it was like his ring finger on his right hand.
Torn ligament in his finger.
And
he had a torn ligament in his finger.
Something funny just happened in the studio, but yeah, you brought that shit up too, son. But yeah, he broke his finger, but this is the main reason they signed Al Horford, so that he can spell Joel Embiid when he is battling any injury or needs some rest. So Al Horford supposedly should fill into this role. But Joel Embiid on January 3rd, he had an interesting comment when it was, I believe, during a practice, and reporters were asking him. The players had a players-only meeting.
Yeah, they was on a bit of a bad stretch, too. Yeah. They had lost like 3-4 games in a row.
Yeah, and Embiid came out and said, we've just got to look, and I quote, we've just got to look at ourselves and see what we can do individually. We've got to help each other, even if it means being outside of your comfort zone for the greater good, to help the team win. Meaning that if you've got the space and shoot it, you've got to do it. We need everybody to buy into that, and we'll be fine. We're going to be fine. This is a direct shot at Ben Simmons.
Shots fired.
There is no other player
has to be shots.
on the Sixers who passes up open shots. Who else could he be talking about? Ben Simmons perpetually has open three-pointers, and he never takes them.
Yeah.
He's even made one this year, and he still doesn't take them. The whole pregame, you see highlights of him just swapping threes.
Right.
Still doesn't take it. Brett Brown, even in a press conference, said, yeah, you know, it was my objective to have Ben shoot at least 1 3 a game this year. I guess I failed him as a coach, but he also has to do more for himself. And at this point, it's like worse than the yips. Then like this is a mental block, man. Like he just won't do it. And the guy has the ultimate green light. And it's not about really making them. Like, yeah, it'll be great if you could make some here and there. Russell Westbrook shoots like 3-4 threes a game, and he's shooting 25%.
Yeah.
But it's just to keep the defense honest, give something in their head that they got to defend. But when your defender is playing in the paint, it just puts your whole team at a disadvantage.
Yeah, especially when they just know that you're not going to shoot it. They're just going to fall back. And a guy like Joel Embiid, who needs the space in the paint, needs Ben Simmons to at least attempt a three. I mean, it's funny because it was the same situation last year, but with Embiid, and Jimmy Butler is telling Embiid, you got to shoot the three, you got to shoot the three. Why? Because it just, like you said, it keeps the players honest on defense, and they're going to make sure you ain't shooting it, or at least not feel comfortable behind the line. And Ben Simmons is just showing and making it obvious that I'm not comfortable, so I'm not going to shoot it.
I'm going to take this wide open jump shot.
And Ben Simmons, and it sucks because Ben Simmons he's a guy that his talent is amazing. You can see the signs that he could be a great player, but it's just he needs the shot to open up his game. And you could hear every analyst on whether it's ESPN, First Take, The Jump, Undisputed. All these guys are putting emphasis on Ben Simmons to hit this shot, or at least take it, because it's just gonna unlock the team from everybody's gonna benefit, and even himself. Whether he does a little pump fake, that paint is gonna be wide open.
Yeah,
the
man.
door wide open, and. But in terms of Joel Embiid's injury, it's Horford's time to shine. I feel like that he's been out of sync with that team because of Embiid. He's a guy that's been used to playing the 5 most of his career. Now he's playing his original position, I would say, the power forward position. And now that he's going back to his old role and with this team that he really couldn't find himself. Now there's a reason why you're there. Yeah. And it was like an insurance. It was an insurance that they pretty much bought for themselves. Because there's always a guarantee that Embiid is going to get hurt.
Yeah.
The matter is when. And that's why Horford is there, and Horford is going to hold down the fort. And I feel like it's playing a little better because Horford is more of a three-point threat. So it opens up the court for at least Ben Simmons to just run in the paint. He's not clashing with, per se, Joel Embiid. But in terms of that experiment with Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons, I think that this it has to end soon. Someone has to get traded if Ben Simmons is not going to adjust and shoot some threes. At least shoot them, bro. Shoot them.
Take the shot, man. I mean, you're my arch rival, but it's just disappointing to see a guy with so much talent, so much room and leeway to improve his game, man. It's like, what the fuck are you doing in the offseason? Like, you just trying to get back with Kendall Jenner all offseason?
I mean, we saw he was shooting
on your shot.
We saw he was shooting.
Word, we see mad pickup games you taking threes, bro. Take some threes. We're gonna see though, but let's talk some better news, man. The WNBA.
It's brightening up the moment right here.
Yeah,
right?
They got a new CBA, and there's a lot of stuff that went into it. We'll just go over a bit of a top line view as to what they did, but essentially, the new CBA is going to help increase salary, provide things like maternity leave, and improve transportation. A major point is there's a 30% increase to the salary cap. So max player salary goes from $117K to $300K. That's a huge improvement. And this is going to be the first time in the WNBA's history that an average player's compensation will be in the 6 figures. That's so great. You could think that, I mean, for these ladies to have been playing for so long, making essentially what people make in 9-to-5 jobs is just not, it's something that you got to shake your head at, because, I mean, the NBA has so many resources to provide more for them, and they're finally getting what they deserve.
That's a big fact. And there's also it's also great to see, because now these women aren't going to be forced to play overseas, which has been the storyline throughout most of their careers, that they can't really survive off of what they're getting paid off of WNBA. And they could survive with a $90K contract or even $100K. Yeah, that's cool. But you're talking about an athlete who's traveling, who has to provide for their family, but also, if they get hurt, God forbid, that's just gonna cover for 1 month. An NBA player gets hurt with one contract, he has at least some money for at least the 5 to 10 years.
Facts.
Chilling, guaranteed. But these women play year round just to make ends meet, just to make even $500,000. They play year round all around the world, but they're not playing 50 games. They're playing like 80 to 100 games, traveling the world, no sleepless nights, just going all out.
You got kids you got to take care of, and you might have to take them overseas or be away from them for extended time. And it's wild to me that they didn't have these maternity benefits.
Yeah, that's another
Like,
thing
bro,
that also.
We all know how difficult it is to be pregnant.
Yeah, that plays a part too.
How is it that you are not offering these women the most during these situations?
Fully guaranteed. They were paying a portion of it, which, okay, so now we're already at 100, and now we're getting, let's say 50%. Oh, yeah.
And to get 100, you had to be a top player. So it's definitely past due for this to happen.
And then the argument is, the league hasn't profited ever since it's been created. But that all comes to play in terms of, are they marketing the league right? It seems like if they are marketing, they're marketing and hitting their target audience, they're completely missing. Yeah. They're looking like Ben Simmons out there shooting a three. They're completely missing because they're not
even taking the shot.
The fans, the fan base in terms of the WNBA, it hasn't really been growing. And I know I've seen a discussion where I think it was on Get Up. No, it might have been The Jump, where T-Mac and Brittany Griner were sharing their opinions on how they could, grow the sport. The women's, the WNBA game. How can they grow it? How can they make it a better? How can they market it better? T-Mac suggested is lowering the rim 9 feet, just because the slam dunk could bring a bunch of people, and that's essentially what apparently brings in the NBA consumers is the slam dunk. And I completely disagree. I'm not sure if you agree with T-Mac or not. I just think they need to refocus on branding, on how they're reaching out to their consumer audience, because clearly it's not working.
Yeah, man. I definitely don't agree with T-Mac, and I'll bring up Brittany Griner's point where, how are you going to tell me now move it to 9 feet when I've been practicing on a 10-foot rim my entire life, and now I got to readjust my entire game? Nah, that's baloney. What I do think, however, is the WNBA really needs to re-strategize their marketing. I mean, from the marketing that I see is legitimately just like regular sports marketing. You're marketing to regular sports fans, and they've been doing that for a good amount of time. I'm almost certain that just placing commercials before NBA games is not going to make the regular sports fan want to watch a WNBA game. Like, just putting a commercial up it doesn't result in more engagement. That's why I think they need an overhaul as to how they marketing. What is their strategy? It looks like their strategy is legitimately just the average sports fan. Let's get some more average sports fans to WNBA games. It's the WNBA. It's the women's league. Why don't you make it more about women empowerment, showcasing these women battling through all of their struggles they've gone through and being able to be a professional athlete at the highest level. Make it for women so that women can enjoy the sport, would want to go to the games. And Juan, talk to me about dudes. If dudes know mad women gonna be at a spot, where dudes gonna be?
They're gonna be in that spot.
They're gonna
with
be
the
at
women.
the spot where women at. So I feel like the WNBA needs to market more towards women. I don't know exactly what it is, whether it's making more feminine promotions, whether it's making more specials and promotions where women get a discounted price and yada, yada. I don't know exactly. I'm not the WNBA marketing representative. If you want to hire me, I could give you ideas and we could start working towards this.
That's a fact.
But they need to shift their attention to not the regular sports consumer, but to women and try to make them sports consumers, because people just trying to have fun. Women like to have fun. Men like to have fun. And men like to have fun with women. So if a lot of women are going to WNBA games, a lot of dudes are going to follow suit. So that's just one of my ideas as to how to really bolster the marketing of the WNBA. Because as great as the CBA is, it's not going to generate new revenue or anything for the WNBA.
Yeah, it really just addressed an issue that the women weren't getting paid enough, and maternity leave and stuff like that they addressed, but it doesn't even get close to them making money. So it's nice to see the CBA deal done. Well, maybe before the season they might come with a contract deal of a whole marketing scheme how to get a target audience.
Real talk, man. Let's get to wrap things up here briefly with the MLB, man.
Yes.
There has been, the punishments finally came down. Legitimately, every team that's rivals with the Yankees is getting hurt bad.
Going down.
The Astros, they got the worst of it. They were fined $5 million, forfeited their first and second round selections over the next 2 years in the first year player draft. And their GM was fired and AJ Hinch was fired.
Well, the GM,
they were originally suspended, but the owner fired them.
Yeah, that was a clear owner trying to save face, making sure that no fingers are pointed towards him at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. But it's a weird situation because, you're talking about an organization that was boasting for a long time now that they wouldn't do such things. I remember recently, I think it was in the Yankee series, that the question was brought up to their GM, not their GM, their manager, Hinch, and he laughed it off like, come on, this must be a joke. Are you guys, to even consider that we're cheating is like disrespectful and just humiliating in that situation. You're saying that we made it this far because we were essentially cheating. And guess what? As the story unfolds, it seems like that's exactly the case. And I'm not one to really, I don't want to go too crazy and really bash these people, honestly, because rumor has it that a lot of teams are involved in this situation, that it's not just Houston. Houston obviously took it overboard, but there are rumors that a bunch of from players the players have been the one out speaking that Houston isn't the only one. So I'm not the one that's gonna be judging Houston for doing what they're doing. I'm glad they got punished and it's brought up to light that championship is gonna be tainted. But in terms of, it could be tomorrow that, the Yankees, it seems like the Yankees were doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Stealing signs, but I don't want to go into that, and I don't want to think about it because the Yankees look like their future is real promising. Yeah. But as a Yankee fan, it hurts to see that Houston essentially was cheating and won the World Series that year these actions were taking place.
For sure, man. It's a bit bittersweet to see this. We're gonna dub it as fuck. We could have won the World Series if these guys hadn't been cheating, because it happened with the Red Sox and the Astros. The Red Sox just fired Alex Cora, who was shown in the report to be one of the key perpetuators in this whole cheating scandal.
Mastermind, apparently.
Yeah, man, and it's something that I think this was a good punishment. Maybe they could have gone a little further. I'm gonna suggest, why don't y'all give them like a scarlet letter, a big ass C on their jersey for cheaters? I gotta rock that for at least 3 years. Let everybody know how y'all did that and how y'all got that ring. But forever in baseball history, and people who are consuming this news right now, we're gonna have that asterisk. It's gonna be tainted and it's not gonna be respected. So I feel like that's enough punishment in itself. And word are, Alex Cora just got fired or they decided to part ways.
They say mutually, with
and
quotations.
So there's rumors that the same thing is going to happen with Carlos Beltran. We'll see if by the time this comes out,
investigation is still going with the Red Sox. But it seems like the Red Sox know exactly what Cora was doing. And maybe because the Red Sox are being investigated for the 2018 World Series, there has to be some type of cheating form that they were doing to get them there too. So that's an even more reason for the Yankees and even the Dodgers fans to be even more mad at the fact that these guys got away with some shit like that.
Real talk, man. But let's close things out finally with the big fight that's coming up this weekend. Conor McGregor is finally back, one of the most entertaining fighters of all time, and Donald Cowboy Cerrone.
The Cowboy.
I found it interesting. I was watching the pre-match build-up pre-fight interviews and stuff. And Donald Cerrone was being talked to on like a lawn chair in his garage or some shit.
God.
What you'd expect from a cowboy per se. And he says most fighters who go into a fight with Conor McGregor, they try to get him on the ground because his strength is striking. Donald Cerrone was like, nah, why would I do that? I want to know if I could take one of his hits. I like fighting too. I like fighting standing up. So he says he wants to keep the fight straight up and not on the ground. So you know what I'm doing? I'm putting all my money on McGregor because I don't know what the hell Donald Cerrone talking about. I respect it. This dude sound like a dude just trying to scrap. He ain't trying to just get these dubs like, what's his name? Daniel Cormier. Oh, let me get these wrestling points on the floor. I'm going to be humping this guy on the floor all fight long. Donald Cerrone trying to scrap for real. And we're going to see how that's happening. But how you feel about this fight, man? You excited?
I'm excited. I mean, that's one hell of a way to sell the fight. First of all, I think that, which is something that I love from whether it's boxing or UFC, is the way the fighters come out and sell the fight. I don't wanna see these guys like, give each other compliments. Like, oh, he's such a great fighter. Yeah, he reminds me of my dad, like, nah, stop this cute stuff. Let's get to what the event is about. Like sort of say McGregor and Mayweather. You're talking about the two best entertainers from their sport. You get them together, it's an explosion. This is exactly what we need in terms of any fight. I think every fighter should be just like WWE. You have to. It's an entertainment sport. You're there to sell this fight because it's gonna help you at the end of the day in terms of how much you're gonna get paid. And what, $80 million is what McGregor's expecting to make. Mm-hmm. Why? Because this guy is an entertainer, and we love that. And I feel like that's why a lot of people love McGregor, and he draws so much attention. Whether he wins or loses, the money's going to be right there because the fans are going to be right there with him.
You said it perfectly, man. I definitely feel like fighters in general, not just UFC, but boxing and all combat sports in general, they got to take more of a WWE kind of tone to when they actually are marketing their fights. So, for example, with I forgot his name exactly, but the African dude who's from America but beat the racist MAGA dude ass in UFC not so long ago to become the welterweight champ.
Facts.
I feel like that's an opportunity for somebody to really take his brand to the next level. I mean, we remember Muhammad Ali. He was a respectful dude, but he talked this shit and he was braggadocious. And of course, he was one of the greatest of all time, but also his talk, his marketing behind it really pushed him forward to another level. I mean, and that's extremely necessary. So the dude who I was just speaking about, he was talking a little trash to McGregor, like, you better hope Donald Cerrone beats you because you don't want this mess up here if you come up here. So we need more of that to really get these combat sports back to the level they once were with the Oscar De La Hoyas and the Tito Trinidads and the Floyd Mayweathers and Manny Pacquiao's, people just really standing up for what they think they are and selling the fight. At the end of the day, that's what you got to sell a fight. I mean, you hyping it up for a year sometimes. We need some hype. It's not like a basketball game where I could watch it every other day.
How long that Mayweather-Pacquiao fight was supposed to happen?
Yo, 5 years.
And that was the greatest hype 5 years I've ever seen.
We bought that. Real talk, man. We want to thank everybody for tuning in to SazoNOW Sports. It's been a pleasure. Shout out to Booth Media NYC and Rashid holding it down behind the visuals. And as always, it's your boy Jean Carlos with my main guy.
You're Don Juan de Telao.
Until next time, nos chequeamos, nos vemos, nos fuimos.
Peace.